What's up? Man, I haven't done this in so long. It's Tutorial Plus. I'm back at it again, 2 years later. Not consistent at all because it never is. But today I want to talk about Inspin and Outspin.
Oh my.
If you've never seen one of these before, the goal is not to just show people how to skate, but to also explain why it is we skate the way that we do. And in this one, we're going to be talking about Inspin and Outspin, mainly because I don't think it's really ever been documented very clearly. And if it has been, maybe it was 20 plus years ago. And to be honest, like, where are you even going to find that stuff nowadays? So let's do it right now. Okay, so I think it's pretty self-explanatory what Inspin and Outspin is. And I want to just explain it right out of the gate so we know what we're working with, and then I'll explain why it might have been confusing for other people in the past. If you're doing an outspin, it means that you are spinning away from the ledge, out of the ledge, into a trick. If you're doing an inspin, you're spinning into the ledge. I think that that's pretty self-explanatory. I think it's an easy way for us to communicate which way it is we're immediately starting to spin into a trick, either way. Somehow over the years this has gotten confused, and I'm probably going to break that down here in a bit, but I do want to show a few examples of, in this case, Inspin. And then also outspin.
Oh.
So now that we've got that out of the way, and I know you're already immediately thinking, like, that's pretty easy. Like, why is this even needed? It's needed because the past few months I've been online. I'm on my friend Ben's live stream all the time called I Roller Boot. Shout out Ben Sanders. And people have been saying stuff like, we don't even need outspin and inspin. We can just call it half cab. Well, no, we can't, because one, that is a skateboarding term and it means nothing in rollerblading. And two, it doesn't identify which way you're spinning. And maybe it does to you in, like, your local scene with different rules and ideas you've created. Maybe you're just not spinning one way or another and just using it to talk about spinning right or left. You know, like, it just doesn't encompass what we do here in rollerblading, hence this whole video. So I wanted to bring that up. Two, I wanted to do this because as I was researching it, like trying to find like old past examples of things, I stumbled upon several old magazines, and there were photos in them showing two different tricks but calling them by the same name, like Inspin Soul or Outspin Soul. But like they'd show the same kind of trick and call it two different names, and that's just confusing. So even our old publications were inconsistent with what it was they were talking about. Hence, once again, why we're making the video. It's why we do it every time, because we got to make sense of what it is we do, because if we don't, no one will, and that is just a cluster, and I can't have it. Yeah. Wow, well, you'll notice a spot change throughout this because I realized as I was going through my footage today that I explained what inspin and outspin was, and I didn't explain how to do it. So, so it's New Year's Day, it's very early. Briefly, just to have this be a complete project, I'm gonna explain how to do it. Now, obviously, throughout the whole video, you're gonna see a whole bunch of different kinds of tricks, because Inspin and Outspin applies to literally every grind we can do. But if you're just learning it, because of course this is directed at people that are kind of still learning it, I would say maybe start with a basic groove trick or a basic soul trick. In this example, I'm going to talk about basic soul because it's easy to learn, it's quick to learn, it's also easy to understand. So, what's up? Oh my God, Heath is here. I didn't tell anyone else coming here. Heath is here. What the heck, man? Good morning. Good to see you.
Going to work, so he's sitting over here.
Yeah, man, where was I even? Okay, yeah, we're starting with soul, because I think soul's pretty easy to learn, and it's a trick that most people are going to learn pretty quick. It's also really easy to do with Inspin and Outspin. So, okay, you'll be thinking to yourself, well, I only spin to the right, or I only spin to the left. That is probably true. However, I think it's good practice, especially early on, to learn how to look over both of your shoulders and at least spin 180 both ways over both shoulders. That's just good practice to just skate on the ground, to feel good and comfortable skating in any kind of situation. So I wouldn't let that idea of I only spin over one shoulder limit you, especially if it's something like this on a ledge, I naturally spin to the right, but I want to show you in-spin soul over the left first, because it's less of a spin. Your foot's already right here, and you're spinning into the ledge, hence in-spin. If you're new, you might think to yourself you have to huck a giant spin, because it's all kind of new to you. In reality, though, it's really just your hips. You don't even really have to spin. You really just have to turn your hips. If we're just doing a, fakey 180, fakey in-spin soul. So, I haven't warmed up. I haven't warmed up at all. Oh, this feels terrible. But, gotta finish it. So, all you'd have to do is really just turn your hips. That's a pretty easy one. Do that 1,000 times, I guarantee you're gonna lace it. I will say on the soul grind, I think outspin's gonna be a little more difficult, even if you spin that way, because you're gonna have to huck your left leg around to the ledge. It's gonna feel like more of a full spin. And that's fine, that's part of it. That's just how it's gonna be. Still though, you might have to spin a little bit more. It really is mostly just a hip movement, a hip rotation. As long as you can get your hips around quick to that grind, there's not a lot of big huck spinning happening there. So, once again, I just woke up, so this is gonna be garbage, but oh God, oh God. Oh, it feels bad. But that's really it. I always try to lock both feet at the same time if you can, because I think it looks better. But it is hard to do because you are flinging your front leg around a bit farther than the sole foot. So yeah, the hip thing, it does apply to some tricks. It is not going to apply to all tricks. And you'll know that as you get better at skating and you start learning different stuff, you're going to realize, oh, I can't just turn my hips into this fakey in-spin mistrial. It's gonna feel more like a 270. And it's gonna be more of a huck. There's a lot of things though that this does apply to though. There's a lot of easy in-spins and outspins you can learn just by turning your hips into it, not having to huck your body around. I think Anthony did a fakey outspin back unity. That's, realistically, he probably was just turning his hips. I don't know that for a fact because I don't really do that trick. That's a hard one for me. But yeah, it doesn't, outspin and inspin also doesn't just apply to 180. It does apply to 360, 540, etc., etc. For for the sake of the video and not getting too complicated and stuff, I'm sticking to 180s and 360s mainly. I don't even think we did a 360 grind yesterday, and if we did, it was it was rough. One more thing, I totally forgot about this. This is important if you're new. You might be thinking like, what if I'm spinning out of the trick? What if if I've already done the trick and I'm spinning out of it, does outspin and inspin apply? In short, no, it doesn't. We would call that rewind if you spun out the opposite way of which you spun in. If you're spinning out the same way you spun in, we just call it the spin, you know? So if you're doing like in this case, Royale 540 or 450, you know, out, we would just leave it like that. If you were to do it the other way, which I guess I better get up and try to do, that's a rewind 2/7, because you spun in to the right, you spin out to the left. That's why we call it rewind. That's rewind. That's semi-tiring to do. So, I hope that at least answers some questions. I say a lot of the stuff off the top of my head, so I know there's probably like 2 or 3 important things that I missed, and I should probably take notes and bring those notes with me when I do these things. But that would take way too much time, and this takes up enough time, so we're gonna call it good enough for now. As always, thanks so much for watching. Shout out to my homies for coming out to skate and helping me with this, because I for sure can't do enough tricks to do it by myself. So that's Tutorial Plus. We're back at it again. I hope it doesn't take me 2 more years to do the next one, because I'd like to talk about dark side and far side. I think that's important, but that's for later, not for now. Anywho, I hope you all have a good day. Thanks so much for supporting Jumbo, and yeah, check out all the links in the description. Thanks, y'all. See ya.